Hello and welcome to this week's Back Chat from the Arc in Headingley. Now, the word legend is often overused. We use it to describe Gary Schofield every other week, so there's proof of that fact. But we have two genuine legends with us today. Malcolm Reilly, who's the Lance Todd Trophy winner from 1969, former Great Britain coach, lots of other things as well, which we'll talk about during the programme. The aforementioned Gary Schofield, quickly past him. And John Joyner, who was the Challenge Cup winning captain for Castleford in 1986. And a Castleford legend as well. It's great to have you here. We're going to chat over some of the stories from your memories in the next 45 minutes or so. But first of all, right up to date, one of the big stories of the week, Gary Schofield. Shaun Wane is not going to be the Wigan coach at the end of this season. Surprised?
Oh, very surprised, astonished, to be honest with you. And my opinion is quite simple here, Dave. It's that he's been undermined because I think what's happened over the last few months, we would say, McAlorum leaving, Sam Tonkins leaving, and also to Zach Hardaker signing for Wigan. On the three accounts, I don't really think that he would have wanted Zach Hardaker because of his misdemeanours. The way that Shaun is, he's a very, very disciplined coach. And also as well, with McAlorum leaving and Sam Tonkins, if you ask Shaun two players who he wanted to keep in that Wigan side because he treated him like his two sons, it would be McAlorum and Sam Tonkins. And also as well, the statement was being put out from a point where he's looking for a new challenge. Do you know what? The challenge for Shaun is, it's quite simple. He wants 17 Wiganers playing in that side. He's getting what he wants. Also, he's getting the best out of his players. He's having one of the best seasons that Wigan have had, certainly from a point of view, the way they're playing smart, attractive rugby league. I'm absolutely astonished that he's leaving Wigan. He's been undermined, and that's why he's leaving. But
I mean, you two know as former coaches, there is a lifespan on being a coach, isn't there? I mean, Mal, however successful you are, you know that down the line you're going to be leaving a club at some point.
I agree with everything that Gary said. He's done a very good job there, and it can only be that he is undermined. I mean, the board of directors, you know, they might have different ideas, but I mean, he's the proof's in the pudding. He's got the results, and he's Wigan are in the top three, if you know, contesting for the top club in the comp. So I can't understand it personally.
John, is it baffled you?
It has a little bit, knowing Shaun, but putting a positive spin on it, I think he's been at the club 17 years, he's been associated with. It might be good for his career. And speaking from experience, this time I spent at Cass, I think if he moves, it could give him an extra lease of life, and also for the club.
Yeah. Because I mean, he is very much a Wigan man, isn't he? You know, he is Wigan through and through.
Right. You see, also as well, have a look at the when you look at the Manchester United model and Alex Ferguson, he built 2 or 3 sides. What Wayne is doing now is building that side again. And as he said many times, he wants 17 Wiganers playing in that squad. You look at the way that what Shaun has done in bringing the youngsters through, like every rugby league club should be doing that by all accounts. You know, certainly in Super League. Bring your juniors through, give them that opportunity. That is what Shaun has done from there. So that is telling me that he's not getting what he wants. He's been undermined, and that's why he's going. I'm not buying into this scenario. It's a new challenge. A new challenge for what? The challenge is there, Wigan, where he wants to make sure that they are contesting the League Leaders' Shield, the Challenge Cup, and also to go into the Grand Final. And the way Wigan are playing this year, with Wigan youngsters who he's given the opportunity, that's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Gary, why would he want to restrict it just to Wigan lads? You know, I mean,
because he's Wigan bred.
I know he is, but
Mal, you know as well as I do, how many Australian journeymen have come over here? How many Australians have taken very important positions? When he put George Williams in at stand-up when he was 17, 18, everybody was saying he was bonkers. Look at the great job George Williams has done. Shaun wants to give the Wigan juniors the opportunity of playing first-team football. You did many times, Mal.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I mean, if there's any sort of areas where they need strengthening, surely on a short fixed basis, you'd look overseas or you'd look at other options, you know. And there's some running about in the game today. Benny Barber, for example, you know, he's dictating what St Helens do. If he wasn't on the park, you know, he's not obviously a St Helens local, but he's doing a job, and I'm sure there's opportunities, you know, for similar people to do a job with Wigan.
But for Benny Barber, Mal, it's quite simple. All he's doing is putting himself back in the shop window to get himself back to NRL. He's not showing no loyalty to St Helens because by all accounts he's going back at the end of the season.
Well, you don't know that, do you? I mean, I admire him because, you know, I like class players, and And
he's class.
He is class, yeah.
Yeah. Is there an element though, John? I mean, having coached Castleford, and Castleford again is a club that's very much drawn from the local talent. Do you find that local kids grow an extra leg because they're playing for their hometown team sometimes?
I think they do.
Or is it an added burden? Is it sometimes an added burden?
It can be.
Yeah.
But I think whether you're growing up in Castleford, Wigan, Leeds, I think as a school kid, as a kid, your ambition is to play for that club. I think the last player that Castleford had come through the junior ranks is Darryl Clark. If I'm not certain, I'm not positive about that. But, you know, we've got to get more kids through. And like Gary says, Sean's doing this at Wigan. And I think more clubs should do it.
Yeah. I mean, there is a day, and we were talking a little earlier, weren't we, Mal, about the young kids. That is very much what rugby league needs to build. And it's lost a lot of that. Communities that grow up with rugby league, schools not playing rugby league. Does that concern you?
It does. We've got to invest in junior development. Well, immediately, you know, and how we do it, there's got to be a set plan, but we need to produce better juniors and bring them through to the first team in international football.
Yeah.
And I think we have got to develop them, but these kids have got to be given a chance. Now, giving them 2 or 3 games is not helping them at all. They need a good run in the team. If you think they're good enough, well, they are going to have bad games, they are going to make mistakes, but you've got to persevere with them.
Yeah, and something we've discussed a lot on this programme over the weeks and over the months and over the years is A-teams. We don't have proper A-teams anymore. And how much would not having an A-team affected your careers, would you say?
Well, we'll all tell you that reserve team football needs to come back, and it needs to come back very, very quickly, because there's a new initiative come out now, isn't it? You know, by all accounts, why the game is losing 12 to 18-year-olds and why we're losing them. Quite simple why we're losing them. When they come to 19 years of age, they're being given all the false promises. The scholarship is an absolute joke. Get rid of the scholarship from there. There's loads of 19-year-olds who want to play professional rugby league. Bring back reserve team football and give them that opportunity. It's as simple as that. But unfortunately, clubs, because it costs around about £100,000, the same from there, they can't do it. It's an absolute joke, and that's why we're not having quality youngsters coming through in our game.
Gary, can't the coaching staff on, you know, like, for example, Castleford, can't they, instead of having a second team, an A-team, and don't get me wrong, I played A-team football, and I think it's a good way of bringing people through, but they can get out into the schools, you know, the professionals, they can send the players into the schools, coaching the young kids, and I think they should do, and I'm not quite sure whether that happens either.
Yeah, well, I think it does, to an extent, but I mean, when you were playing in schools, I mean, Castleford would have had a great schools competition in the town, wouldn't it? And Wakefield and Huddersfield and Leeds would have all had lots of schools playing, and that's not happening as much now.
Do you know, Ashton Road School, where I went, a guy called Roy Close was he was the maths teacher and games teacher. He played rugby union, but he was a great rugby league coach, and people came through, you know, Alan Hardesty, Epworth, Bryant, Ward, myself, you know, and Edwards. They all came through that system, and that's just with having one teacher who was really focused on rugby league. Yeah,
yeah, and that's a big problem for the game now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just leaving school, when I joined Castleford under-17s, in Castleford, in Featherstone, we had Castleford, Fryston, and Featherstone under-17s, who all had good players.
Yeah.
Who all, I think, a lot of them turned professional at some stage.
Yeah.
Whether it was Featherstone, Cast, Wakefield or whatever. It's a competitive league.
You see, another thing we're going to get back to as well is that when we look at the amateur game as well, it's been a massive mistake that the amateur game has gone to summer rugby, right? So what we've got to do, we've got to go back.
Why is that? Just qualify.
Oh, because there's too many distractions, Dave. There's too much distractions in the summer for the amateurs we play, because a lot of them, you know, they say they've got families and they've got girlfriends and they've got wives, and we all know when they interfere, we all know what happens from there. But what's going to happen is now, professional clubs have got to leave the kids alone until they're 17 years of age, like our day. Let them enjoy themselves the amateur days. There's plenty of touring opportunities and there, because professional rugby league clubs don't go away. If they want you, they will keep tapping you up until you're 17, 18, until you're ready. And I don't believe in, and this nonsense now is that they take on the scholarship, they take them at 12, and from 12 years of age, they are dictating how they should be playing, what time they should be going to bed, what they should be eating. It's absolute nonsense. Let them enjoy themselves. Yeah. If they are good enough, the professional clubs will sign them, but leave them until they're 17, 18 years of age, like our days, and then they'll be ready to play.
Yeah. I also think, I agree with you, but I think it's before that 12 years. You'll see some junior coaches now, they're doing with 7, 8, 9-year-olds, they're doing safety sets coming out of their own half and things, doing moves with them, where some of these kids can't pass ball, and they're doing moves.
Well,
And you watch them,
well, I'll tell you what, John, I'll go further in that. This is laughable now, this is laughable. My 2 grandkids, Isaac, he was 4, my granddaughter was 6. She was down at Alton, right? Do you know what they were learning then? Wrestling techniques. Wrestling techniques. No ball whatsoever. Wrestling techniques. And I was laughing. I said, what are you showing them? This is what to do. Well, this is what they've got to learn. I went, absolute rubbish. 4 years of age, 6 years of age, learning wrestling techniques. Absolute joke.
I know we're having a retrospective on Roger Millwall's life some time ago and talking about how he learned playing just touch rugby on the rec, just playing with a few socks tied together or something like that. That's where you learn your skills. When you
Ashton Road School, the playground wasn't a massive thing, but we used to play touch football while everybody else was in the playground. Yeah. So we'd play around people, and you develop skills. That's the only way you can do, under duress and under pressure. Yeah. They should, bring more into natural. Let them develop naturally. Not sort of overcoach them. They don't need that.
What stage do you start to coach them now? What stage do you start to say, right, this is the techniques of the professional game? Would you say?
Well, do you know what I picked up from my year? Because I had a great teacher, Roy Dougal at Clapgate, like Mallard at school from there, and then in Miami today's Ron Tinker. But one thing they didn't do with me was take away my individual stuff, what I could do. But how I learned is when I came into the first team dressing room at Hull, and I'm sure Mal was the same when he came into the experienced dressing room, same as John, I watched what the pros did, and I picked up a little bit from there. So it wasn't about coaching. Arthur Bunting, or Malcolm Reilly, or Frank Stanton, or David Ward, who were the 4 best coaches I have played under, they didn't teach me how to catch, pass, tackle and support, because as a professional player, if you can't do that, you shouldn't be professional, should you? So I just picked out the little things what these proper pros did, and that's how I learned, and learned very, very quickly.
Is there a lesson to learn from Australia, or is Australia, I mean, you've spent a lot of time, Mal, obviously in Australia. Are we kind of copying what's happening in Australia, but because we've not got as many kids, we've not got as much raw talent?
I think that's right. We haven't certainly got as much talent. I mean, the game over there, junior-wise, is massive, and they've got a feeder. Every club's got a huge feeder, and they invest into the feeder avenue. As we've talked about previously, we should do. But we need to sort of address that for sure, and bring it through.
Because sorry, John.
No, I was going to say I agree with Gary and Malcolm, but I also think what we lack at professional level now in the teams we've got in English players, we haven't enough players who can play what's in front of them. And I think that comes from the junior footballers, kids. They're getting told every minute what they do here. You do this here, you do that here. You can't do that. But it just takes that individualism out of them. You've got to have a game plan of sorts, but in that game plan, you've got to have people who can.
I think you've also got to look at things. I think you've also got to look, John, at the modern game. It's defence orientated, and it's a little bit stereotype, and it's all about this 10 metres, and as Gary brought up earlier, the wrestling techniques in the ruck, slowing the game down, instead of like when we played and just having a look at what's in front of you. And the game's simple. It's a 2v1 situation. Right. If you run the right line and people are clued into each other, you can find attacking opportunities, where at the moment it's sometimes like it's 5 drives in and turn the ball or kick chase. It's a bit stereotype, I think.
So how do we change that? How do we change that? I mean, is it down to we saw Cass last year playing the way they did and getting some success. Do we need teams to play like Cass and get success for everyone to say, right, that's now the success formula, instead of going down the Melbourne route of we're going to wrestle in every title?
I think, being a bit biased, I think Cass was best side to watch all last season. I think that'll, and I don't know, but he give them that opportunity that if, this is his game plan, this is what we do. But if there is, you see something to Luke Gale, Ben Roberts, whoever it was, then you take command of that, you take over, and that's the way to go.
You see also as well, when Malcolm mentioned Benny Barber. When Benny Barber plays, Dave, it's quite simple. When he plays, he's allowed to express himself and anything what he does. And if it goes wrong, he's not going to get told off for it. He's not going to get told off. He's always going to be, well, keep doing it and keep doing it. I know when I played under Mal, I frustrated Mal a hell of a lot. I can reassure you.
You frustrate all of us.
I frustrated Mal a hell of a lot as a player because, you know, I went for interceptions and also trouble looking for the chip over the top. But he never discouraged me from doing that. Neither did Arthur Bunton or Frank Stanton or David Ward. You know, so if a player's got something what opposition haven't got, they don't expect what you're not supposed to do, he always encouraged that. Benny Barber's always encouraged, but I don't see too many of the coaches saying that to the British talent. The British talent are starved. You are not allowed to express yourself. You're not allowed to play with that vision and awareness. Benny Barber can do what he wants, and great stuff as well. It's great to see. But one thing for sure, when he makes mistakes, he won't be dropped and he won't be told off for it, because when he keeps doing it and doing it, it's going to pay off. And certainly in big games, because he's a champion player, he will win the big matches for St Helens.
Gary, there's so much emphasis in the modern game on once you've done your 3 or 4 or 5 tackles or drive-ins, you know, there's such an emphasis on the kick chase game and offensive opportunities through kicks. There's nothing wrong with that. I think, you know, but you've got to develop the game a little bit better, you know, in the structure, you know, with a little bit of vision and a little bit of...
We'll come back to that. I'm going to have to cut you short there. I do apologise, but we're right at the end of the first half here, run out of time. But we're back with these three, Mal, John and Gary. We've got lots to talk about as well in the second and third parts of Back Chat this week. We'll see you in a moment. So welcome back to the Arc in Headingley, and we were talking before about the quality of the game, the entertainment values in the game. Well, we've got 3 legends, or 2.5 legends, to talk about it as well. Mal Reilly, John Joyner and Gary Schofield, who just about fits under the bar for this particular episode. But Mal, talking about the entertainment value, and you made an admission during the break. We've got the 10-yard rule at the moment. We used to play under 5 yards. And a lot of people, Wayne Bennett, I think a couple of years ago, was saying we should go back to the 5-yard rule. And you played a big role in making it the 10-yard rule in this country.
Dave, I had to do, because, you know, like, I was international coach and I did a recce to Australia to find out just, you know, how the game was going and have a look at some of their potential international players. And they were playing a 10-metre rule, and they had to be a lot fitter to be able to do that. And we were playing a skinny 5, and I came back. I said, look, if we don't change this, we're going to struggle for, you know, in the game, because they're going to be a lot fitter than we are. But what happened, what's developed into it now, is that they're employing wrestling coaches to slow the balls down, so you can retreat the 10 metres before you sort of advanced, you know, in the defensive line. So yeah, it has changed, and it's not for the better. The skinny 5 would have promoted offensive play, and unfortunately the 10-metre rule, it stereotypes defence.
Could we go back to the 5? I'll just bring Gary in. Could we go back to the 5-yard rule now, given the way that the wrestling technique has developed and the way defences are organised?
Well, do you know what I would like to see happen, certainly in the pre-season games, is that when we look at the tacklers now in 3 or 4 defenders, isn't there? I would like to see us experimenting where you can only have 2 tacklers in the defence. You can only have 2 blokes doing the tackling. That will speed the play the ball up there, and I would bring the 5-metre rule back, because what that does then, certainly when we look at it from our days, the players then would have to play with that vision and awareness, stand a little bit deeper and make their own space available for the creativity. So I would bring 2 rules in, the 5-metre rule and only 2 men in the tackle.
Would that work, John?
I think it would work, yeah. As we were saying earlier in the break, that, you know, people like Roger Millwall, Aaron Hardesty, Keith Epworth, they learnt their trade in 3 yards, 5 yards, you know, and for blokes as little as that to have the skills they did, it must have had some bearing on it.
Yeah, so that you've got to play. At the minute, we've got this 10 metres where you can just, the big fellas can run and run and hit, and because of the interchange rule, you can keep freshening that up. but 5 yards would work. It would make people. It would force people to play a bit of football.
Dev, I've been preaching that for some time now. You know,
Yeah.
And with Gary, with the two, I agree with that also. You know, we don't need 3 and 4 people in the tackle. 2 people is adequate. You know, and then it puts the front foot on the attacking side, and it'll develop the offensive game as opposed to the wrestling techniques that we've adopted.
You see as well, again, we've gone down the Australian rule, well, not rule, we've copied them again, where the loose forward, i.e. they've gone like the Paul Gallen way. The loose forward now is playing like a front rower. We've got 2 of the best loose forwards here that's played the game, in the British game. When now do you see natural loose forwards like Mal Reilly and John Joyner playing, before they put the head in the scrum, I'll tell you what, this is where we're going, this is what I'm plotting here, by good ball skills. We don't see that anymore, Dave. We don't see the quality of loose forwards with the ball handling skills of these 2 guys.
Would the interchange rule, would a change in the interchanges affect that? If you, I mean, what have we got in a minute? Is it 8 interchanges in a game? If we cut that down to 4, would that have an effect? Was that something you like to see?
I think it would have an effect. I would like to see it, cut down to 4.
Yeah.
Because you need people on, and you know, as the game grows on, it's part of the game, the fatigue, people getting tired. It's where people like Gary, Malcolm, myself probably pick people out that you could run at. You could see they're getting tired, and you see that going out of the game.
Yeah, yeah. It's become a very different game, hasn't it? In
Yeah,
the last 20 years.
I really do think that there's no fatigue element in the game with all the replacements that you've got these days, and it would open the game up, and once again down that offensive avenue, it would improve that. It would make the game more attractive to watch.
What about also? I'm going to ask you about the 4 tackle rule. Did you ever play under the 4 tackle rule? Had it gone?
Yes, I did.
You
yeah.
did. I mean, would that make a difference? It was unlimited tackles for the young people watching. It was unlimited tackles, wasn't it? And teams could just keep the ball. And then to create some entertainment, it went to a 4 tackle rule. And that only lasted 4 or 5 years before the 6
I don't think the 4 tackle rule is an option, to be honest. You're not at the ball, you can't organise, you can't sort of get any structure in offensive plays with 4 tackles. You know, no sooner have you got the ball and you turn it over and you're having to plan a kick, you know, straight away. So I think 6 is
six
probably,
is about right. Which, okay, that's fair enough. But the modern game, you've got to wait to get the ball back, don't you? I mean, again, in the game that you were brought up in, you had scrums in which, you know, it was not necessarily 50-50, but that you had a chance of winning the ball. Contested scrums. Even at the play the ball, you could contest for the ball at the play the ball as well. Now we have a game where you've got to wait to get the ball back. Would you change any aspect of that?
Oh yeah, I would. I'd change it all, to be honest with you. Because at the end of the day, we're in an entertaining sport, aren't we? You know, and so if the opposition don't want the ball, take it off them. It's like with the stripping. I couldn't care less how many's in there. If you don't want the ball, just take it off him. You know, so if you want to win rugby league games, you've got to make sure that you protect that ball from there. And if they don't want it, take it off them so you can score tries. Yeah,
striking out at the play of the ball. I think it was under Maurice Lindsay's stewardship that rule changed. Were you responsible for that?
No, I wasn't. No. Truly, I'm not quite sure that's the answer. But striking for the ball, competing, because you know, it sort of from a referee's perspective, it will be difficult to monitor, and it'll be scrappy too.
Yeah.
I don't think we need that. You know, I think the play of the ball at the moment's fine. We're keeping possession. It's a quick play of the ball. Let's quicken it up without any interference there.
Yeah.
I think contested scrums. I'd like to see contested scrums come back.
We get the chance of feeding.
I would not like to be a front rower, but. Yeah, I think I would.
But it used to be messy. It did used to be messy, didn't it? The contested scrums. You could have a 5 or 6 pack downs before you actually got a ball put in there. So that was the problem with that, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's why they fetched it out. But I think now it's just a mockery a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Do we need scrums, Gary?
Oh no, we don't. Well,
but if you're not going to have scrums, what do you do?
Well, at this moment in time, do we need scrums? No, we don't. But if you bring the scrums back from a point of view where they're contested, where hookers are being hookers, you know, if you look at it, say we go back to our days, where the hookers literally were on the ground, because the competition, as I say, with the hookers in our day, you look at with the Bob Spurs and the David Wards and the Keith Bridges and the Ronnie Wildmans, literally they were battling each other to try and win that ball. This is what I'm saying. If the opposition don't want the ball, take it off them. So the reason why we've got to sort that out is, if we are looking at contested scrums, we have got to put it where the hookers can strike for the ball. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's still a great game though.
Yeah.
We're not talking the game down. It's still a great game to watch.
I think we need scrums to continue as they are, because you're confining 10 people in one area of the field with opportunities, bigger opportunities on the outside and the edges. to play a little bit of football and bring the centres and wingers and fullback into the game.
But also we saw. I mean, Tim Sheens is the exponent of the scrum players, and we saw
this is what I'm going to say here now. I say with the two quality loose forwards here with the creativity. Nowadays, when you're looking from scrums, there's front rowers standing as a standoff. The second rowers standing there as a centre. What's all that about? They play with the two of the best halfbacks that's ever played in Hardesty and Hepworth. It was an opportunity where you could look to get on the outside of the opposition by creativity. And one move that's not used nowadays is the simplest move in rugby league, the simple run around. How many tries nowadays were scored with a simple run around from the scrum, creativity and creating the numbers game? You don't see that anymore.
No.
It's a shame.
It's a massive shame, man.
From the base of the scrum, Keith Hepworth and Alan, we had some set plays where Keith would obviously feed the scrum. It passed the ball to Alan, and as soon as it passed it, it'd go around him to stand the centre up, and then I'd follow him and take a short pass because Alan would commit his opposite standoff, which just opened an opportunity down the middle of the field. And you've got to look, and there's nothing like that happens in the modern game. Why, I don't know.
Yeah,
really don't know.
Yeah. Is it down to coaches?
Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it?
Yeah. Of course it isn't. And when you look at the modern game as it is when it came since '96, who were the two guys who liked doing the runarounds? You looked at Tommy Martin and Bobby Gordon at Saints, and then Shaw Long at Tommy Martin. It's the simplest, most effective move in the game, and nobody uses it. Which, got to blame the coaches for it.
Yeah,
got to do.
Yeah. Let's just go back because I think a lot of people will see you two especially and think let's hear some stories from the great days. '69 Challenge Cup, Lance Todd Trophy winner. And that was, and you were at '86 Challenge Cup. That was the days when the Challenge Cup was wow. That was the big day of the year, wasn't it? I mean, what are your memories of '69?
Oh, I think it was just a fantastic opportunity, for us. I was that stage of probably about 22, and we'd a good pack, and I had a great understanding with the halfbacks. Alan told me where to run, when to run. And we got a terrific result against Salford. And unfortunately, because I was involved and Alan put me into these openings and opportunities, that I came away with the Lance Todd Trophy. But the game was different then, and it was more of a spectacle for for the public.
Yeah. '86, great memories of the bus ride home, if nothing else.
Yeah, fantastic memories. Like we said earlier, as a kid, that's what you dreamed of playing for your hometown club. And you also dreamed of playing at Wembley. I was lucky enough to achieve that later on in my career. Great memories. Some, as Malcolm says, some good football played by both sides that day. Some great tries, especially from us with Tony Marchant and Jamie Sandy.
Yeah, little Jamie Sandy.
So fantastic.
Yeah. Does it break your heart to see where the Challenge Cup is at the moment in terms of its importance in rugby league? Because it has lost a little bit of its lustre, hasn't it? What do you think?
I'm sure it has. Yeah, it's just not the same sort of competition as it used to be. It used to be the pinnacle of our game, and now I think there's far too much emphasis been put on the position in the league table, and but that's life. That's what happens.
Yeah. I'm sure it's lost all its provenance of what it used to be. Like I say, you dreamt of it walking from that tunnel at the old Wembley down. You'd seen so many great players done it. Like Gary says, you used to watch them, excuse me, and you wanted to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah. And just moving on, as a coach, 1990, I think one of any rugby league fan around at that stage, any English rugby league fan at that stage will remember the Melbourne Test, the fantastic Melbourne victory. And what are your memories of that one in 1990?
It was fantastic, Dave. Yeah, well, I mean, we'd had a couple of close decisions. We were contesting, Australia in the first test, and it went very close. The second test, we
smashed them.
Yeah, it was a great result for us, and the players were terrific on the day.
Did you play?
I think I had a little bit of influence, to be honest with you. But you know what? Malcolm as a coach, and I say it was the most simplest, basic half-time team talk I've ever received from a coach. It was simple. Same again, lads. Nothing to do with diagrams, nothing to do to make sure you got the right attitude, nothing to make sure you complete this, and to make sure you don't do this, you don't do that. It was quite simple. We were 22-0 up, and I say we were just sat there, just so quiet, because we couldn't believe it, honestly. We couldn't believe we were smashing them 22-0, to be honest with you, from there. But Mal's words were quite simple. Same again, lads, and the rest is history.
Yeah, fantastic.
But how many tries did we score in that test match where we chipped over the top? I know of the try I scored, I didn't have a clue what I was doing because it was a planned move, what went wrong, so I just thought, oh, well, I'll just chip it over. And we all know what happened there. Sean Edwards chipped over the top there for Paul Newland, and I chipped over the top again to put Chariots over, and then Graham Stedman picked up the ball and thought, well, what do I do here? Went down the blind side, played what he saw. That's exactly how he coached us.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if there's nothing on, just go do it. A bit of individual brilliance, and that's what we did. But yeah, great man manager, Mal. Great man manager. Yeah. And do you know what as well? We talk about the celebrations. You know, we didn't really celebrate because we were on the flight back up to Brisbane around about 9 o'clock. So we were all in the nightclub, to be honest with you. But we weren't drinking because honestly we could not believe that we'd smash the Aussies 33-10. Believe that or not? We weren't even really drinking there.
There must have been, a real excitement because everyone was then looking forward to the Battle of Brisbane, as it was dubbed, even before it was played, wasn't it? And it didn't quite happen. I mean, how frustrating was it as a coach, as a Britain coach, to get so close? Because you did it again in the World Cup, so close against the Australians, but not quite getting over the line with them.
Yeah, it's difficult to take, you know, but you just got to accept what happens. And I had a great squad of players, and I think they gave the maximum. I think we had an opportunity to win a Test series against Australia. The last one, of course, was back in 1970, but you know, we just fell short at the time, and you just got to look back and sort of improve on all aspects of your game.
Yeah. Would you have thought then that we'd be here now, 2018, and still not have won a major tournament involving the Australians up till now?
I can't believe that we haven't had any success. Success is not something you stumble onto. It's something you prepare for. You sincerely prepare for. If you take a good look behind it, you'll find the same consistent qualities in one's character, in the player's character, that make one strive for a goal with a standard of unmatched excellence, and I don't know where we're going to find that from.
Yeah. Wayne Bennett, the right man for the job at the moment?
Look, I would rather avoid answering that question.
Okay.
I prefer to have an English coach coaching us. I think they'd obviously be more passionate about it. Nothing detrimental to Wayne. He's obviously and still is a very, very good coach because he's had all the results there he has. But personally, I would prefer an English coach to do the job. And you're nodding your head as well, John.
I think an English coach for England, and like Malcolm says, Wayne Bennett is a good coach. His career and his record proves it. But in the last World Cup, one decision he made, I could never. Is playing Bateman in the centre. That would be on me. I could not fathom that out at all. Yeah.
Well, we'll be picking up a lot more on some of the memories of these three in the final part of Back Chat. We'll see you in just a few minutes' time. So welcome back to the third and final part of Back Chat, and a special one, as if you've been watching you'll know. This week from the Ark in Headingley, we've got three of the legends of the game, Mal Reilly, John Joyner and Gary Schofield along with us. And can't let you go, the three of you, without talking about some of the characters that you've been involved in your careers as players and coaches. And Mal, I'm going to start with you, because I mean, we look back on that 92 Great Britain team, for example, and there were some really good players in there, weren't there? And one player you have been involved in a lot, Martin of Fire. How good was Martin of Fire?
Well, Martin, look, he was a great finisher. You just could not imagine just how quick he was when he got that ball with opportunities on the edge. I mean, he was training and he was doing even time with rugby boots on, and I think the best times were with the sprinters were about 9.6, something like that, for 100 metres. So he was flying, and you just when he got the ball in space, he put the glasses down because it was a try and that was it.
Yeah.
But I've been involved with some great players. Ellery Hanley, for example. Ellery, he was a real character. Very quiet, very deep thinking. We didn't always see eye to eye, and we had our moments. But I've got to respect him as a player because he was a tough character, and he could inspire other people with his actions on the park.
Yeah, some strong-minded players, weren't there? Sean Edwards.
Ellery, yeah, Sean. Yeah, they were. I think at one stage we had virtually a Wigan pack.
Mm.
I mean, and so they contributed to the national side a great deal.
Yeah.
And with some of those individuals, Sean was a great organiser, full of enthusiasm. Andy Gregory, another guy that I just loved coaching because he was so enthusiastic and he just loved it.
Yeah.
Loved playing, loved getting involved, and great.
Yeah. Who are the great characters that you look back on, John, from your career as a player and as a coach as well at Cass?
I think one of the first characters I met when I came into the Castleford first team was a lad called Alan Dickinson, Doddy,
right.
Who used to take ball up no matter where it was. He used to talk to the opposition and he used to shout Geronimo, I think it was, and he would take it ball up. So, yeah. He grew up with Malcolm as a kid, I think. So, yeah, Kevin Ward, probably the strongest man I've ever known playing rugby league.
Yeah.
Naturally strong man. Grumpiest as well.
Yeah.
But, when he wanted to play, he probably the best front rower going around at the time.
Yeah, yeah. And yourself, if you could pick one from the past?
Oh, when I first came into the whole dressing room, and I say with all the superstars in there, and I say with the Kiwi guys, and young Lee Crooks and Mick Crane, but these guys know him very well, Steve Knocker-Norton. Oh, absolutely sensational knocker, and I say natural talent. It was blessed, but when I was stood there in them days, you'd no way made you'd see it today. There was 2 bottles of sherry in the dressing room before, and Knocker would be supping. Let's say, won't be far off supping half a bottle of that sherry, to be honest with you. And I thought to myself as an 18-year-old, is this how you become a great player? Is this how you become an international? Anyway, I looked at half and half. I went, no.
Yeah.
You leave that alone. Yeah, but Steve Norton, literally, one of the best loose forwards that's ever played. And when we talk about an area that's produced quality loose forwards, we've got Mal Reilly here, John Joyner, and Steve Norton is up with the best of them.
Yeah.
But a character, but boy, oh boy, could he play rugby league?
Yeah, absolutely. You had great times in Australia. I mean, you were a grand final winning coach, an English grand final winning coach in Australia with Newcastle. You are loved down there, because I mean, I've been there and been in your company when you've been in Newcastle, and you reign supreme. How much did you enjoy your time in Australia?
It was very special. It's something I'll always cherish. Being able to coach people like Andrew and Matthew Johns and Paul Harrigan. Paul had a heart as big as that table. His skill level was limited, but he would just take it up all the time, and he was very aggressive and a big unit too. He could handle himself. He was the captain of the side, but Andrew was possibly the most talented player I've ever coached. He just had about everything. He played 7. He played half-back at 92 kgs. So he used to smash the forwards when instead of them running at him, they would, he'd just pick him up and dump him.
Yeah.
Great, skilled player, fantastic.
Yeah, and of course you played over there for quite a while with Manly as well, didn't you? I mean, did you find that a tough decision to go out there, or once you got there, do you think this is the easiest decision I've ever taken?
No, I toured with Great Britain, and whilst I was out there, I got some advice from a friend of mine, the coach of the team, actually, Tommy Smales, said, you should possibly look at playing in Australia as Tommy had done for North Sydney. And I said, Tommy, I really would like to do that, because I was looking to find the best in myself, and we'd just won two Wembleys back to back, and he put me in touch with a guy called Jim Comans at 187192 Macquarie Street. Never forget it. and as soon as we got to Sydney, I went to visit him, and in actual fact, he was representing me for something else because I got into a bit of mischief. I got into a bit of bother.
It's not like it.
No, it's not. No, but he gave me some really good advice, and he said, look, there's two. He got back to me when I got back home in England, and he said there's two clubs here that's really, really interesting. Manly was one of them, and Ken Arthurson met me at Sydney Airport when I arrived there because I had no club. I just jumped on a plane. I said, look, I'm going to go to Castleford. I want to progress my career, and I sort of £10 pom, went to the airport, jumped on the plane, and Ken Arthurson met me, whisked me over to Manly, put me in a hotel, and there's only one decision I was going to make, and that was to play for Manly. I had 5 great years there. We won 2 Wembley finals and played with people like Bob Fulton, some great players.
It's a beautiful place and a beautiful city, isn't it?
I'll tell you one as well, Dave, what I want to say about Malcolm is all the players who played in the NRL, it was a Winfield Cup. Like in our days, when you look at Malcolm's era, and you had the Steve Nortons and the Gary Stevens and the Phil Lowe's, and then in our day, myself, Ellery, Kevin Ward, Crooksey, Derek Fox, Greg, Amport, and then when you look at the players now who are playing out there, from the Burgess boys and Graham and Gareth Widder, if there was a poll in Australia about who's been the best English player to play in the Australian Rugby League, I can tell you this now, Malcolm Reilly would have 85% of the vote. That's how good Mal really was in the Australian Rugby League. Everywhere you go, they all know this great man here. But also, can I ask you a question, Mal? Do you know when you signed for Manly in 1970, I've heard the story that, was it Ron Coote who played? Would he at South, Ron Coote? Or was
South,
it Bob McCarthy, South, Ron Coote? Yeah. Is the story right there that when you landed there, we all know the press out there, was it right that the question was said to you, you know, you come over here with a reputation of being a hard man, Malcolm, what do you reckon? And did you say, well, who's the hardest man in the competition at the moment? And I think they mentioned Ron Coote, and you says, not at the moment, he's not now. He's the second.
No,
is that right, Mal? Was that true?
No, it's not.
Did you sort Coote out when you played? Did you sort Coote out when you played against him?
No, I didn't. No. It was every time we played South Sydney. It was full on, and the game was different then, and there was a lot more contact around that area upwards.
What about the tussle with the hooker, George
Piggins?
George Piggins.
Yeah.
What about your tussle with George?
Yeah, look, we're best of mates.
You wasn't when you played?
No, we didn't. No. We did have an engagement on the field that lasted for a little while, and it was all fun. But the game was like that then. I enjoyed it. I loved it. But you know, things change.
But as I said, I want to say it with Malcolm, and say if there was a poll of people who the best players who have played from England. This man here, 85% at least, he would get the vote. Maybe 90. That's how much he's absolutely idled in Australia.
What you were talking about earlier about...
Does he owe you money, by the way?
No, he doesn't. Peter
I'm
Peters...
hoping he might get the great manager's job. You never know. He might want a bit of experience.
Peter Peters, Zorba he was, who played for Manly. He was in the back row at the time as I was there. And I remember one of the first 2 games we played in this. We were playing South Sydney, and I didn't know anybody I was playing against virtually because they were obviously, you know, I'd just come from England. And I asked Zorba, I said, who's the toughest player on this park? Because, you know, if you can get over the top of that guy, then things fall in place pretty quickly. And Zorba used to give him the information, like, you know, and so the game, as I said, was different. And you could take people out.
So who was the hardest man in the opposition? And did you sort him out, Mal?
We signed him on.
John, I mean,
Arthur Beast.
You must have had an opportunity to go to Australia, but you never went to Australia.
Never went. No, in '79 on tour, I had a couple of approaches from Manly actually and Cronulla, and then again in '84, me and Schoey went to see Frank Stanton about going to Balmain, but they picked Schoey. Probably not me.
Right.
But yeah, it's one thing that I'm sad about, that I would have liked to have gone and played.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I was lucky enough as well to tour with John as an 18-year-old in '84, and I saw John will smile at this when I said it was like a Jolly Boys. And I said, you know, when I made the knocker in the dressing room with the sheriff from there, when I was only 18 and all these lads were experienced, and boy oh boy was it an enjoyable time. We did get hammered by the Aussies.
Yeah.
The scoreline, I'll tell you, we did get hammered, but we had a great time, John, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, when Mal came in '88, when he came to the Great Britain side, then Mal brought in team meetings. But before then, there were no curfews, there were no team meetings, and it was,
no
it was a great trip,
home.
John, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great trip, great trip.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at the smile. Look at the, there's some untold stories here that we probably can't tell on family television. Right, we're coming towards the end, but just briefly, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, each of you, but one game you've been involved in, coach, player. What was the game?
Melbourne 92,
Melbourne.
led by the scrape man.
Right, okay, thanks. It's brief for once. Mel, one game.
Probably Wembley '69.
Yeah.
A long time ago, but
Yeah, 50 years next year.
yeah.
50 years. Unbelievable. Because we just celebrated the water splash.
Yeah.
50 years, so.
Backed up. I know you said one, but '97 winning the grand final with Manly was
Yeah.
with
Newcastle.
Newcastle was, from a coaching perspective, was right up there. Yeah, they're great supporters over there.
Yeah, and I would imagine two similar towns, Newcastle and Cass, similar kind of.
Very close-knit
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. Brilliant. 86? Or
There's two actually, yeah. 86 has got to
Trophy?
be up there. No, 86, playing an also my test debut in '78 against Australia at Bradford,
Yeah.
and we beat them.
Because you were coach though for that Regal Trophy final, weren't you?
Yeah, when we beat Wigan.
When
Yeah.
Cass beat Wigan.
Yeah.
And that was quite unexpected that day as well, wasn't it? The way you beat, that was a bit like the Melbourne test. It was a bit like the way you beat Wigan, was a bit like Great Britain beat Australia.
It was unexpected the way we beat them, I think. But when you look at that side, there was some, you know, great shows. Too much nowadays. We had some great players in Lee Crooks, Tuara Nickau,
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore, Graham Stedman.
Yeah.
It was a good Cass side.
Yeah, it was. And one player, finally, one player you've watched or played with, the greatest ever player.
Our English player for me is Lee Crooks, but the greatest is Wally Lewis.
Okay. Are you going with Andrew Jones?
I'd have to do look. Alan Hardesty was fantastic. He taught me a great deal. But Andrew just had everything.
Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with him?
When I go out there, I do. Yeah, we catch up with Matthew and Andrew. Yeah, and Chief. We have. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that, nicknames as well. We don't have enough nicknames. Chief, Paul
Yeah.
Harrigan. You know immediately who you're talking about. No, you're saying the Chief, Paul Harrigan. The Axe, Trevor Gilmeister. You know who these players are. One player.
Roger Millward.
Roger Millward. Why is that?
For what he did in his career, and we have been unkind to him, he would have dwarfed. When he was small, you know, he could kick, run, tackle, brave as a lion.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I second that, John. He was just a remarkable player.
And who do you pick from the modern game? If you had to pick one player from the modern, who do you pick as being English player? Because I know you're going to say Ben Barber from the current Super League. But who do you think around in the modern game who is a bit special from an English point of view?
Danny Maguire for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny Maguire. Try scoring now. He changed his game for the last 2 or 3 years. That I say for Leeds became the organiser when Kevin Sinfield left. So yeah, I would say Danny Maguire.
Yeah. I think his last Great Britain Test match was 2006.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
would he? Because we went the diabolical route of picking loose forwards at standoff. There you go. Ridiculous. Well, why is it? Tommy Martin never played. Lee Breers, why he should have played far more international rugby league for Great Britain, because they went the stupid way of picking loose forwards at standoffs. Okay. Absolute joke.
And who do you two look on now as being, you know, real good exponents of rugby league in the modern game?
Sam Burgess springs to mind for me. I think we should hit on him or not, but Zach Hardacre, I know he's had his troubles and that, but I think he could have played in any era of the game.
Yeah. No?
Zach would, you know, I just hope he gets back into the game and produces the form that we know he can produce. You know, he's a terrific player.
And do you see, from what you know of the English and the Australian game, finally, Mal, do you see England being capable of winning the World Cup in 2021, 3 years from now?
I really think anything's possible, mate. You know, it just depends what personnel we've got at the time and how they're playing and who's coaching them, and you know, a lot of factors. It's obviously going to be tough, you know, but yeah, I think we've a real chance.
Okay, well, we've run out of time, unfortunately, because we could have sat here with you all day, the three of you, and chatted about rugby league, but that's as far as we go. Just a reminder, if you want to know what's coming up in terms of rugby league on this channel, have a look at this website, www.freesports, don't forget the final S, .tv. And that will keep you up to date with everything that's coming on here and our sister channel Premier Sports as well. So that's as far as we go this week for Back Chat, unfortunately, because we could have spent a lot more time with these three, Mal Reilly, John Joyner and Gary Schofield. Thanks to all three of you for joining us. We're back with another Back Chat next week. Richard Stead is in the chair. Until then, goodbye.